Well, it's Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and I'm here, and you're there. So, have you ever seen a cat? Maybe a friend has a cat, you have a cat, you've seen them at shelters, you've seen them running around outside, and it looks like the top of their ear has been cut off? We call that ear tipping. Here's a picture of Arthur Dent, one of my cats, and you can see, he's over here, that the ear that's closest to the camera, the angle isn't really great, but that one's been clipped. Okay, so what? What is that? Why would you do that? This is called ear tipping, and this is a common practice. And we're going to talk about that today. So, for me, it is time for Cat Chat with Penny, and I am Penny. And this is my home studio, which is actually a semi-finished attic space. And you've met Arthur Dent. And he's fuzzy. And I run Mew Mew House, which you can see down here. There's Mew Mew House. That is a retirement home and hospice for cats. I have a lot of cats here, take care of them. And I have a few other things going on. You can search those as well. So, before I get started talking about ear tipping, I do like to know where you're all watching from. And if you're watching live, hashtag live, or on replay, hashtag replay. But I do like to know where you're watching from so I know who my audience is. I hope that all of these videos and live events that I do are interesting and informative to you. And if they're not, I hope you'll tell me about it so that I can do more work to make this more valuable for you, because that's why I'm here. Okay. So why do we tip ears? This seems weird. Why do we tip ears? I know that it's dark down here, so my camera keeps going out of focus. That's okay, because Arthur's in focus, and that's what's important. He always looks a little grouchy. He has a tipped ear for the same reason a lot of cats have tipped ears. Ear tipping is a practice that's done for what we call community cats or feral cats. So there are cat colonies out there, and let's be honest, I mean, it's a terrible thing, it's a terrible reflection on our society, but there are a lot of stray and feral cats. Now, stray cats are cats that were somebody's pets. Feral cats are cats that have never had human interaction or not socialized with humans. Feral cats do not generally do well brought into a house. There are friendly cats that are community cats that people think are ferals, but they're not. Arthur Dent, actually, he is semi-feral. And like many cats, he was trapped from a feral colony. He was ear-tipped because of that, and I'll get to that in just a second. And then he wound up living here because he couldn't be, or he was going to be returned to the colony in the middle of winter, which would have been bad for him. So he's here now. But he's definitely not a snuggle buddy cat. In fact, he's bitten me a few times. But I love him. I love you, Arthur Dent. All right, so ear tipping is a practice that we use because when we have cat colonies, when we have feral cats, and we can't find homes for all of them, what we really want to do to be responsible pet domesticators is to make sure that they can't reproduce. Well, what's the best way to do that? We can do a spay or neuter. Fantastic. These are surgeries. They're serious business, especially for females, because you have to actually open the abdominal wall. Males, you just have to open the little scrotal sac and pop out the testes. But I say just. Okay, I'm not a veterinarian, but all the TV shows make a male neuter look relatively easy, whereas a spay, the neutering of a female, is a little bit more complicated because you do have to open the abdominal wall. And the practice is we do TNR. It's called TNR, trap, neuter, release. Because we can't find homes for all of them, we have to let them go back, which makes the people doing TNR feel awful, but we do it because it's necessary. It's better to trap the neuter and release than to, what alternatives do we have? We don't have homes for them. So do we just euthanize them? No, that would be even really, really wronger. Because wronger is a word. All right. So once an animal has been neutered, and usually when they're neutered, they're also vetted. They have blood tests done. And if they're deemed to be healthy and they've been neutered, they're going to be returned back to the colony because that's the best place for them, is familiar place. But now they're neutered, so they're not going to be having more kittens. Perfect. But how do we know? When we neuter an animal, when we spay an animal, it's a serious surgery. I mean, it requires you to trap it, which is traumatic for the animal. And then we have to anesthetize the animal, the cat, and then do the surgery, and then have it recover, and then send it back. This is not, trivial. This is a big deal. Some cats don't survive this. This is just too much. So to make sure we don't unnecessarily trap cats and subject them to anesthesia and other things, we go ahead, once we've trapped them once, we do the neutering, and then we clip the tip of their ear so that we have this obvious indication when we see the cat now in its colony in the wild doing cat things. We see that its ear is tipped, so we know it's been neutered. That way we let it go. If we do accidentally trap it, we let it go, unless it's not looking well. If it looks sick, then we do, again, trap it if we need to, but we don't worry as much because we know that it has already been neutered, so we're not worried about more kittens. But the argument, and I've heard this argument, is that, well, I mean, there's two things wrong with this. One is that you're cutting the cat. I mean, it's got to hurt, right? And then you disfigure the cat. All right, well, a couple of things just to point out. Are there alternatives then? Is there anything else we could do? Are there? Well, the challenge is that by doing this, yeah, I mean, especially for us, this would be a big deal. It would hurt a lot, and it's not, pleasant, happy time for cats either. But it recovers. They recover quickly. It's probably no more painful to them than for humans when we get those gauges put in the ears or just ear piercing. I mean, it doesn't feel real great at first, but they treat the cats with antibiotics before they release them. They make sure it's going to heal okay, and it's fine. And as far as, disfiguring, yeah, I mean, it's obvious, but the other cats don't care. The other cats aren't like, okay, laughing at each other behind the back. No, it doesn't affect the cat's ability to hear or anything. They just have a shorter ear. So as long as it's done correctly with antibiotics and other things that are necessary, this is something that's going to heal, and the cat's going to be just fine. The alternative, if we don't want to disfigure the cat, then we have to trap and retrap to check. And, males, you can probably tell by feeling if they're neutered or not. Although you'd probably still have to sedate the cat, which, again, that comes with some pretty serious risks, because sedation can cause health problems. And female cat, the only way you're going to know if it's been spayed already without an ear tip is to actually surgically open it up again and look and say, oh, oops, there's nothing in here. So, from my perspective, yes, I'm not real keen on doing damage to cats, cutting their ears or whatever. And as we're looking at here, Arthur Dent now lives in the house. So what happens a lot, is these cats, they get ear tipped and then they turn out to be friendly. And then they can be adopted and find homes. But we don't know that when we initially trap a cat. We don't know that. So we do the tipping and then we release if we can. And if we can't, the tipping is done while the surgery is taking place, while they're being spayed or neutered, so they don't feel it then. And, then it can be released and we don't worry about it. But sometimes, like the case of Arthur Dent, he had other health problems. They discovered he had a broken jaw. Dappled Sunshine, who we saw earlier today, she helped me out with advertising today's live. She was going to be released, but she wound up being so friendly and she was busy raising kittens. They discovered that she was really friendly, so she found a home too with me. There's Big Red, who lives here, who has a tipped ear. He was trapped. He was going to be a TNR, and they neutered him, tipped him, and then did blood work and found out he had FIV, which means he couldn't be released. So then the choices were euthanasia or live inside with a person like me. It's like, okay, well, he's semi-feral. He's not, cuddly either. He's more cuddly than Arthur Dent, but not by a whole lot. I've heard Big Red purr. Arthur, I've never heard purr. That's fine. But there aren't really any good alternatives. There's no way to, until we have devices that we can sort of aim, microchips maybe, but then you still have to get close enough to scan, x-rays where you have to sedate, and actually x-ray wouldn't work unless we put something inside the animal, which is again another risk. So the best thing we have right now is to tip the ear, and that's why we do it. So if you see a cat that has a tipped ear, then know that somebody cared enough for that cat to trap it when it was a stray or feral cat and get it neutered. And it may yet be somebody's pet, because I have other cats here that also have tipped ears. I have 2 others that have tipped ears that actually wound up in the shelter system because they were friendly. And again, we don't know this until usually after they've been trapped and neutered, and the tipping happens while they're under anesthesia for the neuter. So we never know until after the fact. So you may go to a shelter and find a ear-tipped cat, and that's great. So when you see a cat that has a tipped ear, it means somebody cared about them enough to trap them and neuter them, so that hopefully they will be the last of the stray and feral cats that have to survive outside instead of in a loving home. And if you go to a shelter and you have the opportunity to adopt a cat that has a tipped ear, consider taking in that cat, because that means stuff. And maybe, you can be the one to give that cat the life it really deserved. Because cats, let's face it, cats, they're our pets. We have cats because we have domesticated them. I mean, they started out as friendly, vermin eaters, but our cats are our friends, and we owe it to them to take care of them. So do that, and don't be upset about some perceived cruelty. If you think tipping an ear is a cruel thing, understand it is. The cruel thing is that we have feral cats at all. I mean, we have feral cats because cats get dumped all the time, or we have feral cats because people don't neuter their pets when they have them. So keep that in mind, and understand that the tipping of the ear is probably no more painful than a lot of the things we do to ourselves, our various piercings and whatevers, and putting in gauges, and people do all sorts of crazy things, and they heal and they're fine. And it's just, tipping is so that we know that an animal, a cat, was loved enough to be trapped, to be neutered, and then released again. If you like what I had to talk about today, please like and share this video from wherever you are. If you're on LinkedIn, hello. If you're on Facebook, share. If you're in the Cat Chat with Penny group, you can't share directly from there, but you can go to the Mew Mew House page and share the video from there. I'm streaming live there as well. Or I'm also streaming onto my YouTube channel, Cat Chat with Penny. And if you have any thoughts, feel free to reach out, let me know. And for everyone out there, and for every cat that's living in the woods, let's send them all some love. Maybe some gentle pets, or maybe just put down some food and step away, because that's how Arthur operates. He's like, yeah, whatever. But know that a cat with a tipped ear is a cat that was loved, that is loved, and you should love them too. Have a lovely day, a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you